Hi everyone, I'm here to talk to you today about how to document parent choice services on the IFSP. Before we get started, just a quick reminder that remember that IFSP services are determined based on the needs of the child and the family. They should never be determined based on staff availability. The document that you're looking at now is some technical assistance that was provided about the services designations. If you don't have a copy of this document, it can be accessed on the extranet, or you can ask your program director or your supervisor for a copy. Let's look at the IFSP services page now. In this example, we're going to say that the team has determined that the child needs physical therapy 4 times a month. Everyone agrees to that. However, the family has exercised their right to choose a service provider outside of ECI. The service coordinator will explain to the family that if the family chooses a provider outside of ECI, the family will be 100% responsible for payment for that service. Also, the rights guaranteed under the family cost share will not be guaranteed for any services provided by a provider outside of ECI. So the family understands that, and they still want a provider outside of ECI. So in that case, the team would document parent choice on the services grid. Now let's say, in another example, that the team has agreed 4 times a month for 45 minutes is what is appropriate, but the family wants additional services. Now where should those additional services be documented? And it really depends on if the child is currently accessing the service or if the family wants to access a service but is not currently accessing the service. Let's first look at if the family or the child is currently accessing that service. In that case, the service would be documented here in the Parents Resources section. This section is below the routine section and above the Child and Family Resources and Case Management Needs section. Now, the additional services would be documented after the IFSP services are planned. And this is how you would document it. So Sammy receives 4 times a month additional PT at Tarrytown Clinic, and that's all you would need to do. The service coordinator would need to get periodic updates from the providers at the Tarrytown Clinic with the family's written informed consent in order to coordinate services for the child. Remember, service coordinators have the responsibility to coordinate all early intervention services. Now, if the family wants additional services, but the child is not currently accessing the services, this is where the additional services would be documented in the Child and Family Resources and Case Management Needs section. So let's see an example of that. And here's an example that the team would document the parent wants PT in addition to what is planned on the services page, and they would like an outcome written for this service. Here's an example of what the outcome might look like. Again, this is a service that's planned in addition to what's planned on the IFSP services page. So this outcome would be written after the services were documented. Okay, here's another example of how to document parent choice services. Now let's say the ECI team has determined that physical therapy 4 times a month is what the child needs, but the family wants an additional type of service. So not just an additional frequency or additional intensity. This is a whole nother type. The family wants a whole nother type of service. Now that different type of service is documented in the same way. Again, depending on if the child is currently accessing the service or if the family wants to access that service. So let's look at how that would be documented. Again, if the child is currently accessing the service, the additional type of service or the service that's not recommended by the ECI team would be documented in the resources section. And this again is between the routines and the Child and Family Resources and Case Management Needs section. So you would just document Sammy receives OT 2 times a month from Little Testoros. Now, if the family wants an additional type of service and the child is not currently receiving the service, that additional service would be documented in the Child and Family Resources and Case Management Needs section. So here's an example. So let's say, again, PT is documented 4 times a month. The team agrees that that's what's needed, but the parent has heard about this great service, aquatherapy, provided by an OT at Easter Seals, and they really want Sammy to receive that service. Well, that's not a service that the ECI team feels Sammy needs in order to reach his IFSP outcomes. So it's going to be documented here on the Child and Family Case Management Resources and Needs page, and the family does want an outcome. So let's look at how that outcome will look. And here's an example of what that outcome might look like. So again, the service coordinator is helping the family access those additional services, and the service coordinator, again with the mom's informed written consent, would seek updates from those additional service providers to make sure that she's coordinating all of Sammy's services. The service coordinators, it's not just your responsibility to coordinate ECI services, but all services that child is receiving. As a wrap up, remember, if the whole team agrees for to the service and the parent wants an ECI, a provider outside of ECI, you would document parent choice on the services page. And if the parent wants additional services, this is in addition to what the ECI team has planned, it's either documented in the resources section or the child and family resources and case management needs section of the IFSP, depending on if the child is currently accessing the service or if the parent wants to access that additional service.